Things change, things do, up ahead. The story you're writing isn't written yet. This evening is only a page in the morning. Your writer will begin again.
The ink you breathe is never dry, and you won't predict your course, no matter how hard you try.
And while there will be more frustration and pain,
There will also be joy, fortune, and love.
up ahead and just out of view, the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you.
Up ahead and just out of view, the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you. So let me be your cure. I'll push your fears aside. Together we could find your answers.
And when it gets too dark, so dark we just can't hide, we will let love, oh, we will let love be our guide. And just out of view,
Up ahead,
I promise you. And just out of view,
the world is
waiting for you. The world is waiting for you.
My name's Michael Gray Griffith. I'm from a podcast called Cafe Locked Out. In 2022, after being at Camp Epic and the Canberra March, myself, Cret, and Wendy, and initially a small convoy, we travelled around Australia interviewing people town to town about their COVID experiences and what they thought of the mandates and everything else that was going on. When we got to Mandurah in WA, we were doing a load of interviews. There was a huge crowd there. But one woman stood out. Her name was Bronwyn. She turned up with 2 children. Her husband had died, she claimed, of the jab. And these children were too young to remember who their father was. It was a tragic situation, but what made it remarkable was Bronwyn's strength. She just told the story, not like so much like a stone, but I don't know, she was so strong. And I think it was because she knew she had, the children were relying on her, so she could not break. But after we'd finished the interview, a lot of people wanted to give us money, and we said no, give the money to Bronwyn. And a Coles bag, one of those green bags from Coles, was brought out, and all these people that were there, most of them were there because they'd lost their jobs because of the mandates. They didn't know what their future was, and yet they emptied their pockets and they filled this bag. And Bronwyn was holding the bag, I think, if I remember correctly, and it was then that she broke. She didn't break through the inhumanity of what she just suffered with the death of her husband. What broke her was the kindness of strangers. And this is the tribe I'm from, and I'll always remember it as one of the most beautiful moments of my life. Anyway, we're back in WA, and I wanted to do an update with her to see how she was going and where the family was, and this is that interview. You were just saying that when he was dying, he was actually feeling bad for the kids who had cancer.
People would ask him, like, how are you doing? And he would just be like, I don't feel bad for me. I feel bad for the children that never got to live their life. He's like, I've lived my life, and, you know, I've got to have amazing children, and, you know, yeah, he wouldn't want anyone feeling bad for him. And he also, you know, he didn't want me to remember him like he was at the end, and he was, you know, really skinny and really unwell. He was like, remember me full of life, like how I was.
How hard has that been to do?
Yeah. No, I do. I try, and I tell the kids, like, whenever I think of something, you know, that he said or did, you know, there. Tell the kids that gives them a bit of a smile and makes me feel good as well.
Is it? Yeah. Can you remember one thing, funny moment or anything like that you thought that is totally Brad from when before all the troubles?
It's been put on the spot now. I don't know. On my heart, it's just I need to think about that.
How did we reach here? Where the view looks like the view I used to see. But somehow everything's changed. Everything's gone, yet remains.
So hello again after all these years. And why don't we start? You lost your husband to the jab. Mm-hmm. That's when I met you, but let's just go back in time. When did you meet him, and what was he like as a partner and as a man?
I met Brad probably 2010. I was working with his sister at Dome, both really young. Kind of saw each other off and on for a few years, and then I was pregnant with my son, had my son. We still maintained friendship, and then we got together. Like, it happened to be the 17th of August, which is the day my daughter was born, but 5 years later, and it just went from there. Yeah.
So he had no problem with you having a child to someone else?
No, he was okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was 8 months. So they grew. They actually spent a lot of time together. Those
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, from when Troy was 8 months old, we moved in together, and then yeah, Troy was like nearly 10, or turned 10, and then Brad died 4 days later.
Yeah. But what was he like? Was he funny? Was he, did he have plans? I mean, what was he like as a man? Just to bring him back to life.
Just really charismatic, fun to be around, like the life of the party, but he liked his like home time and downtime.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
he's an extrovert when he wanted to be, but introvert other
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Really super friendly, and, you know, all the guys at work, like, loved him, that type of
What did he
person.
do?
He was like a fitter machinist, so
Okay.
he worked FIFO and did that pretty much our whole relationship, just about.
Yeah.
We worked away.
Did you guys have plans together? Were you getting a mortgage? I mean, what were your plans moving forward?
So, at the time, we had just signed to build our first house. So we were building a house in Meadow Springs, and of course that all went out the window. But yeah, we had the deposit. We were, bank approval, everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were pregnant then still, or you'd had the other?
I'd had my girls by then. So
Yeah.
it was 3 kids, and one, the baby was, she was still a baby, so.
So pre-COVID, the Great Australian Dream was literally you were through the doorstep. You were in sight of it.
Yeah.
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 And then COVID comes along, and he didn't want to take it either, did he?
No, definitely not. It come down to, I think, a bit of pressure from maybe his family, because they all had it and they were all fine. They all had the Astra, and his twin sister and everything, and they're all still okay. But he didn't want it. He already, was having some unexplained pain and stuff, but he wanted to provide for his family. He wanted to keep working.
And he wanted the Great Australian Dream, which he was inside of. Yeah.
So working in the nearly 10 years we were together, he was a workhorse. Like, he would get the flu, but he would just go to work. He would be sick. But he actually rarely got sick, to be fair. But if he would still be going to work. So, yeah.
And yourself, were you happy in the relationship? Were you buying a house? Was it something?
Yeah, we were very happy. Yeah. I mean, things were up and down. He would. He had like this 1950s sort of mentality around, women's role in the family and men's role, and I was, paying for half of everything. So I was like, well, we're gonna share.
Well, you'd already trained to be a counsellor, or what was
social work.
So you were a social worker?
Yeah, social work degree. Yeah.
Yeah. So you wanted to work as well. So tell us about what he did, where he went to this course, because I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, he just started a men's behaviour change program. It's just to address some of these, like, a lot of men have it, that, they're wanting the stay-at-home mum, but I worked.
Yeah.
So I worked as well. Like, a lot of families are having to do that, and I paid, virtually half of everything. So my thought is that we're gonna do this together. We're gonna,
Yeah. Cool. So and the other thing, he was a staunch atheist, if I remember you saying.
Yes, yeah, very much. So he would be on Facebook, having arguments with Christians and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
For years. Yeah, years and years and years. Yeah.
Anyway, he takes it. You don't.
Yep.
Tell us what happened after he took the first.
Okay, so in the probably month, maybe 5 weeks before having it, he had a bit of pain, and September he had a little bit of pain. End of September, a little bit of pain. So October he went and saw a GP, had the ultrasound. On that ultrasound showed an enlarged appendix, but when he went to the hospital to do the scan, the hospital said, your appendix is fine. So, yeah. And then in the meantime, I said, get a referral for, a specialist, like, in that, this upset tummy. And he had put that referral in, but they didn't get back to him. In the meantime, 9th of November, he had 1 AstraZeneca. 3 weeks later, on the 3rd of December, woke up, could not breathe. His heart was racing. He just felt, he was, clammy. And like, I went into his room, and this is a guy never sick. It smelled in his bedroom like he'd been dancing, partying all night. Like, sweaty, like just a real strange chemical smell, which I only would kind of picture like that being in a nightclub or something like that. Like it was really odd. He said, "Oh, they're going to call me a hypochondriac." I said, "No, babe." It was like, you're never sick. Like I said, you've definitely got, clots on the lungs from the Astra. I was like, just that's what it is. Just go there. They'll look after you. I was like, do you want me to come with you? He said, no, just take care of the kids,
So he got himself to hospital?
He drove himself to hospital, yeah. And then I got the kids off to, at the time I had like some free daycare for me, preparing for work, doing this work thing. And so I dropped the kids off. It was about 9 o'clock, maybe 9:30. He said, drop what you're doing, come straight to hospital, it's serious. So I stopped everything, went straight there.
What did you feel at that moment?
I was scared. Like, I was like, it's definitely like clots on lungs. Like, I knew that I just had a bad feeling. I didn't want him to get it. I begged him not to get it. I said...
You begged him?
I begged him. I said, like, we'll just sell everything, forget about the house.
You'd give up the great Australian dream?
Yeah. We had about, 30 or 40 grand at the time. I can't remember. I was like, we'll just like sell all our belongings and go travelling around Australia until this thing blows over. But he was committed. He was a committed, loyal man. He would follow it right to the end of building this house. And he knew that's what I wanted. And, we'd already gone and picked all the colours and everything. And like, I was so excited about the garden and all the things I was going to do to it. And so he just wanted, me to be happy.
He wanted to help you with your dream.
Yeah, he wanted me to be happy and So
So you got to hospital?
I got to hospital, and it wasn't like, they don't put you in a room and sit you down and like be like, this is what's going to happen and this is the support. It's nothing like the movies. It was like, okay, they've told me I've got stage 4 bowel cancer, and I was like, I was like, well, I want to speak to a surgeon. Like now, I want to speak to the doctor that diagnosed you. They seemed super inconvenienced for me to be speaking to them, like, but because immediately I was like, it's the AstraZeneca, it's done, because they did say you've got blood clots first up, so they identified that straight away.
And did he have any blood clotting issues before?
No, and he had elevated D dimers in his blood test results after the vaccine. So that is, evidence that the vaccine did cause those blood clots. And then they showed the scans, and they were like, this is where your cancer is. They were like, you've got spots of cancer on your appendix, and there was these squiggly little bits in. They were like, we don't know what this is, and I was pretty sure I knew what that was. Like, it's more clots in his body, and they were baffled.
Did you say that he'd had a scan before, like a month before, and he was clean?
Yeah. So he went in October, the month before. Same hospital, same machine, same scanning machine, everything. They compared that one with that one, and they were like, this is nothing wrong with you. This is full of cancer. But they didn't see.
in a month.
Yeah, they did not. It was October, and then he had the jab 9th of November, and then it was the 3rd of December. So it was a bit
6 weeks.
Yeah, there was no alarm with them. They were just like nonchalant, had no cares. Like this, and this surgeon was just seemed irritated to even be pulled out of her job. So it's not the kind, empathetic, like understanding, none of that. Super apathetic. The whole experience that was at Peel, then Fiona Stanley, same kind of. There was a couple of specialists in there that were okay, but mostly it was like you will get. Then he was pushed chemo. You will get chemo, or you got 3 weeks to live. Which it was just unbelievable. His is a 37-year-old that never had no health issues at all. Never had
3 weeks to live, not even 3 months or 6 months or a year.
No, they said you do chemo or you've got 3 weeks to live. And I was livid. I was like, you can imagine.
Yeah.
I was not having that because I'd done my research, and chemo is not what I would have. But and it was in palliative, in a palliative, cancer at that point because.
So he was in palliative care by then.
They hadn't. They had him on the surgical ward still when they're telling him this, so he couldn't have surgery. They put him. Then I jumped up and down. I was like, he needs to be on a palliative care ward because he hasn't. If you're saying he's only got 3 weeks to live, why is he on a surgical ward? Then they put him in the quote the worst room in the hospital, which meant it was hard to get into if you had a wheelchair, which he had. Before long, he had that because by the time he ended up in Fiona Stanley, he had a twisted bowel and he had bowel cancer, so they couldn't operate, and so he was in excruciating pain.
Can you say that he had a colonoscopy and they couldn't find any polyps?
But that's right. So prior to the twisted bowel, which ended him, which I think was the 13th of December. So between the 3rd and the 13th, he was going downhill very quickly. They did a colonoscopy and the guy was very stumped as to why he had no polyps, which is usually the start of the cancer. Brad had none. And he's like, I can't see where your cancer started. So, it wasn't a huge shock to me because I was like, I know it started because of this vaccine, but it's at least triggered something. But the whole medical system, they were kind of stumped, but they also didn't care. It was really bizarre.
So they were stumped because he's saying that they'd seen things they'd never seen before.
Yeah, yeah.
And instead of being inspired or excited by that, they just don't care.
No. Well, they're not inquisitive.
Don't care.
Not inquisitive to investigate further. They're just at that time, I was hearing ambulance every day. I'd never heard anything like it.
Yeah.
This was 2021.
Yeah.
2021, 2022, ambulances every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is he handling his death? Did he reach a point where he realised, okay, I'm going to die? Or was he fighting? How is he handling it? Because I know you're thinking, I'm going to lose my partner, the kids are going to lose their father, all this going to hell. But he too is going to leave us. How is he handling it?
He, and another thing with the hospital is they didn't include me in any discussion around his care because I was, fighting. I was an advocate for him. So, they would say, I'll meet us, at the hospital at this time, and then they just wouldn't show up. I was there on two occasions, and both times I was like, please help him. I didn't trust any of them, but I still, that's the last stop,
Mm.
And how did he handle it? Because I wasn't there with him, so in the moment, so on two occasions or two or three, I was there, but the other times he really went through this alone.
Wow. Because you had the kids to look after.
Yeah, I had kids, but as well because they weren't transparent and honest about when they would have a meeting, or they would just have a meeting without any. He had no support because that's when they decided to do it.
But when you turned up by yourself and you're just by yourself with him in hospital, did you get a chance to do that, or you couldn't because of the kids? What was he like? Was he
Because as well at the
was he
time,
resigned to it, or did he fight, or was he in disbelief or angry?
he was optimistic for a lot of it.
Wow. So he believed he was going to get better if he was optimistic.
He was optimistic. He was putting on a mask because yeah.
It's pretty brave.
Yeah. The other thing was, by the time he ended up in palliative eventually at Peel Hospital, this was after Christmas, so we couldn't even see him on Christmas Day, his last Christmas. They didn't let him out or have any discussion with me about us coming to stay at the hospital or him coming out. It was just... And every time I went there, they were like cleaning his room with bleach. And he was like, can you tell them? Because the worker didn't speak English. He's like, can you please tell them, it's making me, I can't eat. He couldn't really digest anything anyway. But he was just trying to live, he was hungry. He literally starved to death. And I tried to tell her, but it was COVID times and they were going crazy with the bleaching at his room every day, even if he didn't have a visitor. They were in there bleaching his room.
So it's insane all around you.
Oh, it was insanity, absolute. And I tried to verbalise to her, but she couldn't understand what I was saying.
How are you coping yourself? I mean, suddenly here you are, you got a partner, you're going to build a house, you're getting him ready to go, listen, I'm not going to be your 50s domestic wife, we're going to do the chores together. You're planning your whole future, and suddenly you're in a hospital and he's just fading away.
I was not coping. I was extremely angry with the whole situation, but how he was being treated, because I would say to them, what kind of foods can he eat? Oh, he can eat whatever he wants. I'm like, no, he can't be having sugar, he can't be, there's lots of things that he should be rethinking about his diet, and they had no cares. So by the time he ended up in Peel in palliative care, and they were kind to him, I have to admit, they were good there, but I was required to have 2 vaccines just to go in and see him, and so I had to be escorted by, the practice manager or whoever it was at the hospital. Did
you take them?
No.
So they were not going to let you see him.
They were not going to let me see him.
Unless you were jabbed, and he was dying of the jab, or it was suspected. Yeah. So he suspects he's dying of the jab, and they won't let you see him unless he...
So that made me... And then one time, because it was a Sunday, and they arranged a meeting on the Sunday, I don't know why, a family meeting. I was at the front door jumping up and down because they wouldn't let me in. Because I had to show my vaccine passport. I was like... Are you kidding me? I was just like, the whole thing was absolutely insane. And I couldn't grieve because I was so angry. So, and just knowing they didn't care. They just did not care. They didn't care. No empathy whatsoever.
When you got in to see him, what was he like?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, he was just trying to be positive, and a lot of the times I had my kid, the kids with me, so he was just, I don't know. He wasn't down on himself ever. He never complained about the pain he was in, not once. But I did see a psychic after, and she was like, every day was a new day of torture. And you wouldn't have known it because he never said. But I know, they had made him have a port in his heart to have nutrition go straight in. They made him have that, and then they wouldn't continue with the IV nutrition when he decided no more chemo. So that's the only way he could be fed.
And why did he stop the chemo? Was too not working or too painful?
Well, it was just like they gave him like an 80% dose, and it was it was horrible for him. He was just the nausea he couldn't handle, the nausea, and they weren't like offering medical marijuana, nothing sort of for the pain, you know. He had all sorts of like drugs, but the pain just was constant. You know, having a twisted bowel that couldn't be operated on was pretty horrific, you know.
When did he when he died? Did he die in there or did you get him home?
He was at home. He had a big fear of the kids finding him.
So you got him home? They let you take him home?
Yeah, but I didn't, because my son, he was 10, he didn't want to go to the hospital. And it was just really hard to getting in and out of the hospital. Like I said, I needed these 2 vaccines. And then it wasn't just me, you know, he had other family members that hadn't, you know, and friends in my family that hadn't had a vaccine. So it was hard for everybody to see him and say goodbye, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
When you got him home, what was it like having him at home?
It was so hard. He wanted to carry on life as if he wasn't sick, you know. There's one, like, but he couldn't, like, slowly he stopped being able to do normal things, you know. It was like no dignity. He had to wear a nappy, and it was hot, yeah. And then he started to get, like, the medications were starting to make him, you know, a bit delirious, and yeah.
How long was he home for before you lost him?
He was in and out of hospital, so he probably come home. They went to his sister's first, maybe around the 28th of December, and then I don't know, maybe a week after that, I got it. So the start of 2022, and he passed on the 14th of February. But he was in and out of the palliative care appeal, and they'd helped him to sort out his super. So he was able to get all of his super out. And if you have like a terminal cancer, you know, he got a bit of extra money on that. So they will, you know, if in that sense that was you know, a good, it was good of them to do that. But like in the October when he had that scan, they said that they would get him back for a colonoscopy. They just never did. And you know, I don't know if that would have made any difference, because like I said, there was no polyps there. So, you know, what was causing the pain might have just been, like they said, he was constipated. But yeah,
Were you there?
We won't know.
Were you with him when he passed?
I was in the other house. Yeah.
You're in the. But did he pass alone, or you were?
His sister and family friend were holding his hand. Yeah. That, you know.
And you're saying at the end that he turned to God.
Yeah. In the
How was
days
that?
leading. So my brother and sister-in-law that live here in town in Manjimup, they're pretty devout Catholics. And yeah, they, you know, she had the rosary and brought that over. Yeah, he just wanted guidance on the way out of here.
When you heard the news that he was gone, what was that like to suddenly realise, oh my God, he's gone?
Honestly, because I was the only person caring for him all night, and I was breastfeeding, I was just exhausted. So it was like, you'll hear people say it was a bit of a relief, because I just knew that from a certain point he wasn't going to make a recovery. Like, I'd heard of people's miraculous recovery, but I think, yeah, with the mRNA, I just don't think you're coming back from it. And the twisted bowel, yeah, that I don't know. It took me a long time to, like, grieve properly, you know, after that. I was in shock for ages. I think it wasn't until like we had a funeral for him. It wasn't until then that it really hit me that he was never coming back.
Was the funeral one of those funerals too where you could only have so many people there? Or had they changed that then?
No, well, we just had like a service down by the beach. We didn't have a formal. So my mother-in-law and father-in-law had a formal one back where he's from in Battler, New South Wales. So
So you had all this funeral, but just to end this part, but at some point you would have come back here to the house, just had you and the kids, and thought, okay, there's a new chapter starting.
It was just the unknown because I couldn't, because I didn't get the jab, I couldn't get a job, I couldn't stay in Mandurah. So the day he died, his dad's like, we'll help you buy a house in Manjimup. We'd already been looking down here because the houses were cheap at the time. And this was one of the houses that I liked, but Brad said, oh no, it's too small. Which is one of the reasons my son, he didn't like the house because it was small. And he ended up in the small bedroom, but because the girls share the big room. But yeah, it come on the market, so I snapped it up. And after the day he passed away, there was like a dragonfly that come, biggest dragonfly I've ever seen, and it was like going for the hood of my car, he actually was in a coma at that point. So I'd left to drop the kids off to their things, and when I come back, and then this dragonfly was just going crazy. I was like, that's Brad. And when I looked at the house, I come here by myself, no kids, and I was just in the backyard. It was just dragonflies. I was just like, yeah, that's him. This is it. This is this is the house I have to get. So, and every now and again, I see one, and I'm like, yeah, he's thinking.
How did we get here? How did we go so wrong? Since the price we're paying so weak when we were so strong. 'Cause I remember when you were here with me, we didn't know the answer, 'cause we was young and free, and our eyes were brighter, and our laughter longer. And I just wanna go there, I just wanna go. Somehow everything's changed, everything's gone, yet remains.
Keep an eye on the batteries. Yeah. Everything game. Okay, that was brutal. I knew it was going to be. So let's start. You've got, at any point, did doctors or nurses or the government or the health department reach out to you and say, is a vaccine injury or anything like that? The coroner?
No. No, so I actually lied on his coroner's report. They said that he'd had terminal cancer for 3 to 6 months before passing away, and that was a complete lie. From the 3rd of December to the 14th of February is like 9 weeks, and so that was his diagnosis time. So
it's turbo cancer.
Yeah,
really.
100%.
At a time when we hadn't heard the term.
I was starting to hear it.
Oh, you were?
I was starting to hear it because the vaccine had started rolling out in America was the start of 2021, and this was the end of 2021. And so I'd heard of it, but it wasn't well known at the time. And, I just, I was optimistic, you know, for a long time that he would come through because he was so young and healthy.
The other thing you had two really little girls. One who probably have no memory of him.
Yeah, none. Yeah.
And the 3 or 4 year old just 3 or 4 year old memories. So how would you cope then as a mum? You've got one son who's probably devastated.
Yeah.
And then 2 kids who can't really connect. What was that like?
No, it was so hard. Lily, yeah, she was 4. She just started kindy when Brad was sick, and he was able to take her to school. I think we took her one time, and then he passed away. I think 4 days later. She couldn't understand. She would be like, "Let's go see Daddy in hospital," and I was like, we can't see him. And yeah, I eventually saw like her realizing, and she broke down, like, so young to have to go through that. I think at that point as well, I realised, yeah, I knew he wasn't coming back, but then I realised the enormity of how it was going to affect the family, from that time. But, they're pretty resilient kids. And she's coped pretty well. My son has not coped at all. His behaviour was severely escalated after that. He would say and do anything to get attention. Just really destructive, broke the TV. After we just moved down here, he'd broken that.
So he's just angry.
He's extremely angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and doesn't know how to deal with the grief.
Brad had known him from when he was 8 months. So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
was his dad.
Yeah, it was his dad.
And
yeah.
were they close?
Yeah, super close. Yeah, he
So
was
that's
super
really
close
hard.
with all the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a real family man. He would just do anything for the kids. He took us to America 2 times.
Wow.
That was just so I could see my dad. My dad and my grandparents could see the kids.
Yeah.
Our kids. Took us to New South Wales on holiday. When I asked for something, eventually, I'd get it eventually. Took a while to convince him to buy a house, but we were doing it, and.
So what happened to the house? You just have to. Was that a mess to get out of that deal?
No, because I just showed them the documentation that he had terminal cancer, and they were really super understanding. But
Oh, that's really lovely.
the land, we were waiting for the land to be titled, so all the paperwork was done. Just the land, was waiting to get titled, and then we were gonna go start building. So like with delays that were happening at the time, that's just what happened. Because so I don't know. We got our deposit back, and that was that with the house. But it was pretty sad. Because I used to drive past the block every day, and I just stopped driving past the block, and this is while I'm taking Brad to and from his appointments and stuff. And he was like, "Oh, why don't you drive that way anymore?" And I was just like, "It's just too devastating." And that upset him. He was upset about that. But there's something I just remembered as well. Because of the vaccine policy at the time, the Cancer Council wouldn't let us access any services. So there was
Sorry?
the Cancer Council. They had
Because you weren't jabbed.
Yes, because it wasn't jabbed. Well, he'd had one, but he didn't have the second one. And I'm like, but the first one's nearly killed him. Well, is killing him. He's terminal. And they wouldn't see me for counselling unless on the phone. They wouldn't have us come in for massage. So if you want to continue donating, but you should be made aware that these, organisations, not for profit, they toe the line. They're not here for us. They're not here for me, you, and everybody else that has a brain that wants to make a different choice.
How did you deal with the frustration of that?
I would just tell them. I would just go. I was trying to be civil, but I was just like, do you not understand, how insane this is? Like,
To being rationally, emotionally rational.
yeah. Yeah, they were like, well, sorry, that's just what the policy is, we can't. And I was like, where's the humanity? I was just like, I want, if I want to see a counsellor, I want to see somebody and have them see me and see, what this has done to my family, to feel validated, and there was none of that. Yeah.
How has the years been now since? Because I interviewed you in Mandurah in 2022, I think, somewhere in 2022.
Yeah, you might have been right after it happened.
It was pretty close.
Yeah.
So how have you been since then? Because what amazed me about you then is you were sitting in front of me, and you were just like a stone. But I think you had to be, because you said you had two little kids.
Yeah.
The two little ones were after you, like, why are we here? The little kids.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to tell this horrific story. It was quite amazing. And then there was one of the most amazing moments of the entire trip is they were giving us money for petrol money. I said, no, let's give it to Bronwyn. And they had a bag, and the bag was just having money poured into it. And that's when you broke with the kindness. Do you think you were hard because everyone had been such an asshole? And then suddenly all these people have been thrown out of society.
Yeah.
Who didn't have jobs, were suddenly just pouring money into the thing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kindness. Of strangers really has been amazing. Yeah. I just don't know how I managed. I just got through it. I don't know how. I just did it.
You just take every day as it comes?
Yeah.
Have you had time to grieve, though? You were saying you really haven't.
It's not about time, but it's about, because grieving isn't a linear thing,
No, I don't know.
It's like grief. It's like you feel like the more time passes, it's going to get better, and it's not. You just cope with the pain. Like, you just cope with the absence a little more, or you try and fill it with other things, or you just like life is just different. But every day, it's still there. Like, it's 4 years on, it's still there. It doesn't get. I would have thought it would be better by now, but it's just not. I think because I had to be so strong for the first couple of years, and my son, as you know, my son went to live with my mum in Perth, so it's torn apart, the whole family, because now
So it's just you and your girls here.
it's just me and my girls, yeah. So he didn't cope well with the country lifestyle. He never made friends here. He was extremely angry and volatile.
How's the town been? Because some towns are very, basically, unless you've been here for 30 years, you're not like them.
Yeah.
Other towns are not so much. What's it like?
It's
Because
like
you're
that
here,
here.
you're trying to meet people, but you're grieving as well.
It's like that here. The kind of, there's a church, I think it's a 7-day Adventist, like they have a soup kitchen, and I know the lady that runs it, so we go there on a Tuesday night, because like at night, just the girls and I, and it's hard because it was like when we'd have dinner together and things like that. So we do that on a Tuesday night, but first...
What, you help there, or you just go there to be
We
a
just
part
go
of the
there to be a
community?
part of to have a meal and share a meal with them. And it helps, like, not, with money and things like that. I do kind of give them a hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do give them a hand.
The other
But
thing is how you're doing money-wise too, because, you'd lost the house and all that. How have you been going money-wise since then?
well, his family helped me buy this house, so I've done that. Getting a job is really hard because I because if I was back in Perth, I had friends, family to help me with my kids, but I don't really have that here. So it's yeah, I'm needing a job like in school hours and I haven't been able to get it. So yeah. I went for an interview recently about like that. Yeah, they want full time, and I can't do full time. So, and they just don't care. They don't. It's a counselling service that don't care about people. So,
Are you noticing that?
Since the rollout, definitely. Since COVID times, and because at the time, you're not allowed to leave your house, you're not allowed to do things, but people were leaving the house, and then people were getting angry about just having your own rights, your own rights to your body, your own rights to like go to the shop or go to the beach or go to the park, even the parks were closed. Like, yeah, people and they're more the jab, I'd say. They're quiet. They're angry, but they're not angry for a cause. They're just angry because, like, they're just and like less human. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's like they're a bit of their soul's been chipped away. Maybe because they know that they shouldn't have been forced to. They shouldn't have been coerced. I'm not going to say forced, but coerced into getting it. Don't know, but yeah, definitely. There's less of a community, but. It is a good community down here. I'm getting in there. I'm getting there slowly. But this is one of them places where you got to live here 10 to 15 years before you definitely, even that long, and you're still...
Tourist.
Yeah, you're still... Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Can I ask, everyone goes, oh, COVID's behind us now, we've all moved on, it's all in the past. But your dreams and everything you were hoping for is in the past. What's it like when everyone says it's all over now and you're still here and the grief is still real? What's it like dealing with that? Yeah,
it's when passes away that you're still grieving and you're still living that, and it's very painful. But the thing is, what people need to realise is that they've always been like this. The people in charge, the global cult, I call them, they've always been like this. Mm. So when they were like killing 300 million Native Americans, that's my heritage, American Indians, it's the same people. When they took Aboriginal children, it's the same people. They're still in charge. They're still doing this. So in any, they've got more clever in how they're trying to end us. But we need to be cleverer again, because, and also, all we have is each other. Like, we have the numbers. They don't have the numbers. Mm. And they're really, once, like, we realise that and we come together and stop being angry at each other and stop blaming, in the anti-vax community, unfortunately, a lot of people are still blaming people that had it, because, that was a point in time we could have stood up. Mm. But, I understand why people did. I understand why Brad did. It's a rock and a hard place. Mm. And... yeah, we would have literally had to get to sell everything we owned, and I said that, sell everything we own and run away. But he had loyalty, honour, and he was committed to the end. He was committed to building that house.
Did he know? Did he believe it was the jab that had done this?
He knew that I knew. He knew. I never wanted to say to him, I didn't say I told you so.
No, it was unspoken, but it was still.
It was an unspoken. He said he wished he'd never had the chemo. I think he felt, but he was just too proud. He had a big ego. And he was a good man, so that ego was earned, but he was too proud to say. Yeah, I think. Mm.
Have you managed to meet anyone else in this time?
That's so tricky. Yeah, I've met some guys, but they're, it's a very dating in this state. It's very tricky, and I've got my children, so You know, they have to be pretty special to fill Brad's boots. And I think that a lot of men, because, you know, I tell them pretty much straight up, you know, this is the man that Brad was, and this is my boundaries, and this is what I expect, you know, from a man in a relationship, and they're not willing or ready to be that man. So, you know, but I have to put my kids first. So, you know, there's nobody, no, but, yeah, hopefully one day, but, yeah, they would have to be pretty special, I think. Yeah, they'd have to be pretty high up there to, you know, to be with this family.
I know it's been really, really tough. But what have you discovered about yourself? You're surprised how strong you've still been. I mean, you're still here. The house is a mess. The house is clean. The kids, I met one of the children. She seems happy. See, despite it all, you're still being a good mum. And what have you discovered about yourself from these last few years?
About myself. I kind of wish that I appreciated everything Brad did a bit more, to be fair. Because, yeah, I've just realised, like, yeah, he did a lot for the family. I mean, and it took his life, you know, ultimately. Me, I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to, I'm a fighter. I'm strong.
I picked that up already.
I'm strong, like, you know, and don't take shit, and, like, be an advocate for people in hospital. You need to be there every step, you know, and fight for them. And I tried to. It was hard with the kids. You absolutely have to. You can't just leave people in the hospital alone to die. Like, it's, you know, and it was very tricky at that time because of the vaccine policy and the mandates and stuff. But, you know, I was just teaching my daughter just now. We went to hospital because it's hard to see a doctor in town, and she had a bee sting that was really swollen, and they want to give her antibiotics. And I said, look, she's never been on antibiotics before. I'm hesitant, like, to do this for a bee sting.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, we'll just do, I said, which antibiotics would you want to put her on? And they said flucloxacillin. And I was like, no, thank you. I was like, yeah. I said, you know, I'll consider another one.
So you've educated yourself about all of
I've
this?
just, because I haven't stopped, like, learning.
Yeah.
I think that's because at a point, I thought the childhood vaccine, that was all that there, you know, all that I thought, okay, I've done my job as a mother and I've not vaccinated them and that's all I need to do. Well, no, because at every point they're trying to manipulate you and your children into getting more and more poison, and it all is an end goal, you know. And so, we want a healthy life. Health is all we have. You don't have health, you got nothing.
Yeah.
And so
you're actually educating yourself, because if you go into a hospital situation, you feel now that you can't trust them anymore.
I have to stand up for myself at every point.
Yeah, but you feel that it's not a trusting relationship.
Oh, there's no.
When I grew up, if you went to a doctor, you just trusted them, and they're a doctor. You took it for granted.
Yeah.
But it's not the case anymore.
You have to advocate for yourself at every point. So I found this lady, and she's got a whole page on Facebook, and it's called, she's like, I got floxed, and it's from the flucloxacillin. And yeah, she very nearly died. She was days from dying from taking a regular antibiotic. So, and they want me to put this in my child. No, no, thank you. Give me another one, you know, not that one. And even I haven't filled the script yet. I'm going to re-researching the shit out of that before I do.
Can I just go, with grieving, if he'd been in a car accident or an act of God hit by lightning, I think the grieving process will be different from what actually happened to him. As a part of your grieving, or the trouble you have grieving, is there an anger in you?
Yeah, yeah.
And who's the anger aimed at? Or is like a sawn-off shotgun anger? Give me a target.
It's just put a fire in me to... I'm angry, but it's not going to be directed at anybody. I'm angry at the global coal, you know, trying to kill us all, but it has to serve a purpose, you know. It has to go somewhere. Like, this could happen to any of my friends, but it had happened to me, I think, because I'm strong and I could deal with it. But it shouldn't have happened to him. He was the best person. But yeah, it has to be a reason. So you can't just die and like that. That's it. Like, there has to be a fight. Yeah.
Early on in the marches in Melbourne, when I'd done a few speeches and I've been filmed at the Shrine doing this, so I was sort of getting known as a voice. And this young woman came up to me and said she wanted to give me a message that she said, you've got a moral obligation not to sell hopelessness, no matter how tight its grip. So we're always trying to end on some real hope. Now, you have no other reason now, as far as I'm concerned, to do anything than just try to survive day by day and let yourself naturally heal, whatever is the journey. But do you see any hope moving forward? Have you had any rekindled any dreams or anything like that? What's your thoughts going forward? Or are you still stuck? Or not stuck, you still just basically getting through the grief?
Yeah, I'm still surviving every day, and being a mother to my children, which is, you know, number one. I'm just guarded. I'm careful with my heart and, you know, people that I offer my time to, because time is so precious. But you know, I would consider, like, I still want to start my counselling business. Like, it's called Calm Keys. Calm Keys.
Yeah.
Holistic counselling. And it's going to be, you know, the bee. Like, that's my logo.
Oh, yeah.
The bee carrying the key, because it's about trying to be calm when you've got, like, chaos. Like, think of a bee's life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get one chance. They think they're dead. So it's like, yeah, that's pretty much. And also, it's kind of, in a way, we've got to work together.
And what sort of counselling would you like to be? Is it, what sort of field? Is it relationships or struggling kids? What do you have a preference?
Probably women with children.
Yeah.
Yeah, women with, but I could do relationships as well. I think, like, I really want to help people to come to terms with grieving, like, their life prior to COVID, because and, you know, the loss of loved ones with the COVID vaccine, the loss of their bodies, you know.
So you're turning all this pain,
Yeah.
and you'd like to take all this pain, learn from it, and make it into a positive.
That's right, yeah.
To bring some meaning to his death and your suffering as well.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, I'd like to do that. So that's a long-term kind of goal. Right now I'm just trying to, survive, but...
Now you're learning how to deal with it so you can teach.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, this isn't... COVID was, you know, a big slap in the face, but it's not the end, you know? If you go and look at the sky, like, on a day-to-day basis, like, it's been beautiful the last few days here, but between June to probably December, the sun there's no sun. Like, they're actual dimming the earth. Like, there's just so much going on people are not aware about. There's so much to research. I'm pretty heavy into that at the moment. And not to say... not bogged down in it, because, you know, you create your own reality. So, and we're doing that every day. So I am kind of hopeful, you know. I am hopeful But just to be aware of what's going on, because it's happening. Like whether you're blind to it or you know about it, it's happening. So, yeah, people really need to wake up. Like if COVID didn't wake you up, then I don't know what's going to. Like it's going to take some more things. But yeah, 2030 really is going to be a push for AI and digital ID and all of that. And yeah, I just... people that are just starting to realise that, like, I could be a support to them, yeah. And anybody that's had the trauma of this, because it's not a usual thing.
No.
Like, when you realise, like, the whole system is trying to kill you. The whole system is broken and...
So from your point of view, Brad didn't just die naturally, he was basically manslaughtered by the state.
Yeah. Yep.
And now they just wash his hands.
And it's not just, it's not here, it's happened to thousands, and will be thousands more. And there will be no kind of connection. It's a slow, you know, what would you call it? Like the cleansing. That's a slow, yeah. Yeah. Of the useless eaters or whatever they want to call us. So it's a slow poison. But it's just, you know, in the food we eat, everything.
Do you or do you see your children as useless eaters?
No, of course no. We're all beautiful. Everybody's a beautiful person. Most of us, most people are good people. But the people running the world are not. Yeah, they're just not. So, yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I met Jesus Christ, he was almost 10 years old, and he was helping his mother push a trolley full of all they owned. And because they couldn't find an inn they could get in, they were heading to the city and leaving Bethlehem. Couldn't you perform a miracle? I'm out of them, he said. I tried turning nothing into warmth, but it just made my mother cry. It just made my mother cry. Mary Magdalene has become a man, and tonight he's old, and she has been riding my tram. Now it's late and she's trying to sleep beneath the poster for a bank. Your dreams are important to us as it bathes her face in gold. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history